This week on Previous World Weekly, we discuss who would win in SpongeBob versus the Justice League, the worst superhero video games ever, and Carrie from Gemstone joins us to hang out.
Hey!
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And I'm Carrie from Geppi Publishing.
Hey, Carrie, what's up?
Not much, man.
Welcome.
So this is actually the part of the show that I've dubbed, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but the cool things we saw this past week.
Okay.
And it just so happens that you shared something with us earlier this week.
Yeah.
Or last week, I should say,
Yeah.
really. Last 7 days, we'll say.
Sure.
That was actually kind of cool. I thought it was kind of interesting. You want to talk about the Sailor Moon on Ice?
Yeah, it's super cool. So, Sailor Moon, legendary anime and manga series, obviously.
For sure.
Everyone's
Right.
heard of Sailor Moon. If you
Everybody.
haven't heard of Sailor Moon, who are you?
Where have you been?
What planet are you living on? So they've done a number of like different live action adaptations of Sailor Moon in Japan. They've done like a live action television show, they've done stage shows and stuff like that. And so now they're doing an ice show in Japan, Sailor Moon on ice. It looks really cool. They've got Yevgenia, I think I'm gonna screw up her last name, Yevgenia Medvedeva, which is like, she's Russian, she's young, she's perfect for the role of Sailor Moon. She actually did like I guess an exhibition performance to the Sailor Moon theme song
Okay.
a few years back.
Isn't that the video you showed us?
Yeah,
okay,
so it's really cool, and in that video, you know, she does like the whole costume transformation
Right,
in the
yeah.
middle of the
Oh,
routine,
cool.
and now she's got like the full-blown wig, like a professionally made Sailor Moon costume. She looks beautiful, and she gets on stage for this press conference, and she's like, yeah, this is my favorite anime, and I'm just really glad to be here, and I'm just
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh. So it's going to be in Japan. I forget exactly where off the top of my head, but it'll be in Japan this June. It's only running for like a week or so,
Right, yeah.
but I'm
Wow.
sure they'll film it. They've got some really top-of-the-line ice skating talent in this. I mean, Yevgenia herself is like an Olympic medalist,
yeah.
like world champion figure skater, like one of the best female figure skaters on Earth right now. So it's going to be really cool.
Okay, no, nice. Yeah, like you showed it to me. I don't like to use the word adorable all that often. I feel like it comes out when it comes out of me, it sounds weird. But it was very adorable what
Yeah.
you showed me. So, Ashton, what did you do to disrupt the internet this week?
I love how I get accused of things.
Right.
Last week you talked about the Krakoan alphabet,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
reminded me about SpongeBob and the Justice League of Super Acquaintances.
How did you get that from that?
Because
Squidward.
Squidward is Captain Magma, and when he like shoots lava out of his head, he yells Krakatoa,
Okay.
which is like just similar enough for me to feel like I needed to run with it. So I
Okay.
polled our friends on the Free Comic Book Day Twitter page and asked them who they thought would win in SpongeBob and Pals versus the traditional Justice League.
Okay, right.
And SpongeBob and Pals won because
Gee.
that's why I'm
Free
rocking
Comic
this
Book
shirt.
Day trolls.
No, I think they would win. They're
Uh-huh.
just dysfunctional enough that they could pull it off somehow.
Right, okay.
The only reason it doesn't work in the episode is because they like kind of end up fighting each other by accident,
That's
which,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
didn't work when like Civil War happened and didn't work when Batman and Superman won. So if you stick to fighting your enemy
You're right.
and not each other, you're good to go.
Okay.
So long story
I'm
short,
trying
SpongeBob
to remember
would
like
win.
who they fought in that episode.
The Dirty Bubble,
Right,
Bubble.
the Dirty Bubble.
Man Ray,
Yes, Man Ray. That's who I was thinking of. Like I could see Man Ray in my head, and I'm just like, forget his name.
and Barnacle Boy, who was being a villain for like
Oh,
a hot
right.
second.
Barnacle Boy. Okay, this is way over my head.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this, but I'm gonna jump in here and change
Okay.
the subject because I can't talk about SpongeBob. Time for what's at comic shops. We're gonna have a few picks, and Carrie's gonna have a pick as well. So we're gonna get 3 of them this week. Let's check it out. Here's what's at comic shops. Okay, so it is February, which means it is Black History Month.
Yep.
And it just so happens that Marvel's releasing a book called Marvel's Voices. It's based on a podcast, and this is my pick this week. It's based on a podcast that Marvel puts out pretty regularly. It's hosted by Angelique Roche. I'm pretty certain she's the editor on this one.
Okay.
And the it's a one shot that's kind of a representation of the podcast in a lot of ways, because it's just a range of diverse voices, different creators who all have one thing in common, that they love Marvel. Full disclosure here, some of my friends contributed to this book.
Get that plug in.
Right. But I just wanted to, give a shout out to them. I'm going to check it out. Also, it has this great cover by Brian Stelfreeze of a bunch of the black superheroes, like at the barbershop. And I just want that blown up and put onto a poster. I hope there is a poster.
Yeah,
for
I'm
that.
sure they will.
You've seen this
Right.
one,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Like, it just looks so great.
It's asking for that treatment.
Right, yeah. So Marvel Voices, #1, check it out. It's in comic shops today. And yeah, it's just, the timing of it is perfect, and I wanted to give a little shout out to it. So, what are you looking forward to this week?
Me?
Yeah.
Undiscovered Country #4, which I went back and forth because I'm trying to not sit on here and pick like the same kind of books every week.
I mean, if you like it, you like it.
I want to take this opportunity to hammer this home to anybody that's not reading it. It's only the 4th issue. Get caught up, make it happen. I love this book. Undiscovered Country #4. Cover B is incredible. It has the Destiny Man on it, which we don't know anything about him yet, other than he's captured all of our heroes. So, and it's up to our journalist, Valentina, to save them, which I'm here for, a woman getting a chance to save it when a man is the one that walked them into that crisis in the first
is that
place.
how it works? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel's the one that went and got them all involved in the Destiny Man, so now it's her responsibility to save them. But I think what's going to be cool here, the way this is kind of tracking, is there's a central crisis for each issue, and then they take however that crisis is happening and frame it with one of our heroes to give them their backstory. So you're getting the backstory concurrently with the actual storyline.
Nice.
Okay.
So I'm hoping this will give Valentina's backstory, and because they're kind of chipping away at them.
Okay. Actually, I kind of prefer that approach. That's actually pretty good.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Carrie? Anything in particular that you're looking forward to this week?
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to Hardcore Gaming 101 presents Japanese video game obscurities, which is much like you had some folks contribute to Marvel Voices. I'm pals with the guy behind Hardcore Gaming 101, Kurt Collada. So full disclosure, he has done some work for my book, The Overstreet Guide to Collecting Video Games, available now. And I've been doing some stuff for some of his books as well. I'm not in this book, but it's super cool. If you like video games, you should check out the entire Hardcore Gaming 101 lineup. He's got stuff on classic Sega arcade games, I think. He's got a guide to Castlevania, deep dives into very specific subjects. And Japanese video game obscurities is for sure a very narrow subject, because these are games that are obscure even in Japan. A lot of these games never got localized. So if you're just interested in learning more about this oddball part of video game history, definitely pick this up. There's some games in here that you may have heard of, maybe Sakura Wars, or even Metal Wolf Chaos is one that I think finally got an English adaptation recently. And then there's some other oddball things like the gem that is Pepsi Man. So
what is that?
Exactly.
What is Pepsi Man is a really good question. And I don't know that we have the time to go into that right here today.
Valid.
But check it out. Huh?
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Actually, so when you originally told me that earlier, I was like, oh, they're obscure games to Americans that are from Japan, but it's actually also obscure in Japan.
Even sort of
Super
obscure
niche.
in Japan.
Right. That means it's going to get really weird.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, this week, big ticket items.
Yeah.
What do you have this week, Ashton?
I have Bang #1, Dark Horse Comics, written by Matt Kint and art by Wilfredo Torres. I'm always I don't want to screw up people's names. But it basically takes this mishmash of all of these different folks. You've got secret agent, a mystery writer, somebody that's on some crazy drugs, which is important, a terrorist organization. And so you have all these different aspects that are functioning together somehow.
Okay. All right. Hey.
But it's unclear what it is they're trying to accomplish in interacting with each other. But, mind-bending story, action, mystery, altered reality, all those things at play here. And there's actually a really cool trailer on PREVIEWSworld, so if you want a little more info, check that out.
They did a bunch of, I think, character trailers, too. So, it seems like it has a big cast of, of characters, basically.
Which is interesting because they've spent a lot of time, setting up these characters, but not so much, setting up the plot and what they're going to do when they interact with each other. So I'm fascinated to see where this is going to go.
Right. It promises action. It's in the name. So.
And all of these characters couldn't be less related to each other. They're so different that this is.
Huh.
I thought so. At least.
Sounds like Smoking Aces to me. I don't know. That was like the first thing that came to mind. Maybe I'm off base with that, but that's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit. Just in concept alone, I guess. Other big ticket item this week. There's a new villain in town for the DC universe.
And that is.
And her name is Punchline.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Batman 89 is dropping this week, and it's actually already sold out from the distributor. So it's sold out from Diamond at this point in time.
Wow.
But the cool thing about this is that like it's introducing a new sidekick or a new like hench woman, I guess I want to say, for the Joker, because like, you know, Harley's clearly doing her own thing now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's gotten a huge, like the speculator side of like comics has been all over this. And
Oh,
so,
sure.
yeah. And so if you're lucky enough to get a copy of Batman 89, pick it up. And also keep an eye out for Year of the Villain, Hella Risen, #3, because she's going to make a second appearance. This is all leading up to the Joker War storyline. So, yeah, definitely
Nice.
check that out. And now it's time for trailers, right? So one of the books coming out this week is On the Stump. It is by Chuck Brown and Prenzy. And we're going to show you a trailer when we come back. We'll talk a little bit more about it. Check it out. And that was On the Stump from Image Comics. And one of the things I actually love about this book is like when I was watching like the last election, I couldn't help but notice how similar it was to WWE. Like,
That's not where I thought that
you know,
sentence was going.
like,
You know,
legit,
I'm
like,
gonna be honest with you.
I understand, but I mean, you got to think about it. They come down, they walk down through music, they talk trash. Nobody fights each other.
Right.
Like it's just like the WWE right now. So I thought this was really amusing. This concept of like embattled, like presidential elects, potential presidential elects. It's a cool concept. It's Chuck Brown, who I'm pretty certain did the Bitterroot series.
Okay.
And Prenzy was an Italian artist, an acclaimed Italian artist. So definitely check it out. But time for Toy Chest.
Time for Toy Chest.
Ashton's here, and she's going to give away a cool action figure. So stay tuned to find out what it is and how you can win.
This week we're giving away the Marvel Select Iron Man Mark 85 action figure, and to win we're going to try something a little different this week. Keep watching through and listen for what Carrie's favorite video game to comic book to video game, adaptation is, and then leave a comment wherever you're watching, Facebook or YouTube, with what that answer is, and you will be entered to win. You have a week to throw your hat in the ring, and then we'll pick our winner at random.
There you go, cool. And we have last week's winner because we always forget.
Right. We're good at this. So last week's winner was Ken Young, and he said, so we asked about Sonic.
Yeah.
And he said, I get to show my age a bit. I was introduced to Sonic via the original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Mega Drive Genesis. Whew.
That's a mouthful.
I think I still have that system if I were to go dig deep enough into my attic. It's going to be near my Commodore and Amiga hardware somewhere up there.
Ooh, an Amiga.
An Amiga, right, yeah.
Ooh.
I had to kind of pick the back of my brain to remember that. That's
Yeah.
funny. You actually saw the Sonic
I
movie,
did. I got
right?
to go to a press screening for it, so
Yeah.
I got to see it like a week before it came out.
Right.
And I went in with like no expectations, because it's like you got to think back to that original trailer, which
Right.
was,
You're right.
and like the more recent trailers looked a lot better, but I was just sort of like, this
Still
is
left a
going to
weird
be
taste.
very middle of the road. But then like I watched it and I was like, oh no, it's very cute. It's very wholesome. At its core, like it's very much a story about like loneliness and how you deal with loneliness in
Okay.
different ways. Like how Sonic deals with being like an alien creature alone on Earth, like with the inability to like make friends because he's in hiding, versus like how Robotnik dealt with being bullied and alone as a kid, which was to evolve into this megalomaniac mad scientist.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Also, Sonic is very cute, and like 30 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I would take a bullet for that hedgehog. Yeah, absolutely. That's the threshold that we have to clear. Is
I
like,
feel like that should be like the rating system.
yeah.
Would you take a bullet? Would you not take a bullet?
Yeah, how cute is this creature? Like, would I jump in front of a moving train for Pikachu and Detective Pikachu? Yes, absolutely I would, yes.
We're gonna start a new segment where just Carrie reviews movies, and it's like, would I die for the lead character?
Yeah.
Would I not die for the lead character? Like, those are only two options
Yeah.
there. All right, so social swamp time. Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of video games, this is going to be interesting. Hello. All right, we asked you guys a question online, and you answered, because that's how social swamp works. I don't know.
We think.
We think. Check it out, all new social swamp.
Okay, so we asked you guys to tell us what were the best and worst comic book to video game adaptations, and y'all had some feelings.
Oh, yeah.
So Mario U Comics said, Batman Returns on the SNES is very faithful to the movie it was based on and is a good Final Fight Street of Rage style game. Xavier Hugonet said, Superman on Nintendo 64 was the worst. Spider-Man beat the Arkham games for me recently as the best. The Puffy Taco said, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Ubisoft. So good, many keep their PS3 and Xbox 360s hooked up to keep playing. And finally, Christopher Burns said, there is one game whose failure is the stuff of legend. Superman 64.
Yeah, Superman 64 is not only like the worst comic book to video game adaptation, it's just one of the worst video games ever made. Like,
That's very impressive.
it's straight up like perhaps the worst video game ever made. The controls are terrible, it looks bad. It's just like egregiously not good.
Yeah. I've heard Legend of Superman and Nintendo
Incredible.
64.
I tried
but-
playing it one time and I can remember exactly where I was. It was like a Funko Land in Owings Mills, Maryland that had it hooked up to one of the like in-store TVs because like it had just come out or
Right, they
something
were trying
like
to
that.
push it.
And they were like, yeah, play Superman on the N64. And I watched the Superman animated show.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Fantastic show.
Great show.
Garbage video game.
Right.
So tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, right? And I
So what I'm
think,
hearing is you liked it.
I think I was like 6 at the time, and I remember like even at 6 years old, I was like, I don't think this is very good.
Nope.
Not for
Nope,
me.
nope.
No.
Not it.
One of the comments like actually provided like a screen
Yeah.
of the actual video game. And
It's
like,
chunky.
Yeah, it's very chunky. It's very chunky. No,
It's chunky even by N64
oh yeah,
standards.
for sure. Actually, it's hilarious because the video that they posted was Superman flying, and then he lands, but he lands in the ocean, and then a meter begins to like dwindle because he's
Yeah.
underwater. I'm like, why would Superman ever drown?
Because video game mechanics.
Well, I mean, but at the same
Why was
time,
there
it's
a meteor
like
underwater?
what? Who?
Did you just say there was a meteor?
A meter.
underwater?
Like
meter,
an
meter,
oxygen
meter.
meter.
I heard
Yeah,
a
yeah.
meteor, and I was like, I'm very lost now.
That would actually make more sense. I mean, I understand that's
Yeah.
like the basic game mechanics of the day, but like at the same time, it's like a little strange.
Yeah.
Best video game adaptation.
Spider-Man PS4.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
You
really,
want something
really
recent.
without any hesitation. Yeah, it nailed every aspect of what you want out of like a comic book video game, particularly for Spider-Man, and specifically because Spider-Man's had dozens upon dozens of video games made from his lore and from the movies and whatnot, many of which have been quite good. The PS4 exclusive Spider-Man that came out, I guess, in 2018.
Yeah, wasn't that?
Yeah, God, like the web slinging mechanics are super fun. The side quests are good. The battle is fun. You get into sort of like a groove where like you start hearing like about a crime and you're just like, cool, I'm on my way. And you go and you like beat up some dudes and you just like, move on. The story is really well written. The Sinister Six iteration that they put in there is really cool because you have some classic guys like Dr. Octopus. The way that they write Dr. Octopus in the game is really good and very compelling.
Okay.
But like, so you have Dr. Octopus, and then you also have like Mr. Negative, who is not what I would call like an A-tier villain
He's
for
fairly
Spider-Man.
new,
He's
actually,
pretty
yeah.
recent.
Yeah.
The fight against Mr. Negative is so cool.
Yeah, right.
As far as like how it's stylized, everything about that game is really cool. The fact that after a certain point in time you'll just be swinging through the neighborhood and Taskmaster comes out of nowhere and just kicks you in the face. Like, everything about that game is really fun, even getting your butt handed to you
By
Taskmaster. So yeah, easy. Like that's definitely by far my favorite. But then also like Marvel Ultimate Alliance,
Yeah,
the most recent one on
that's a
Switch, is
favorite of a
super
lot
fun.
of people, yeah. Oh, specifically the Switch one.
Yeah, the Switch
Okay.
one's super fun. Batman NES is really good.
Okay.
Like the old one, like the based off the movie one.
Okay, the 89 one.
Yeah,
Okay,
Batman
yeah.
89 on NES is
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. The show's almost over.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I feel like it goes by so fast every week.
You know, maybe not this one. But who do we have this week for Comic Shop shout out?
This week's comic shop shout out is from Dan Cautry, and it goes to Legends, Comics, and Coffee, which is cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Like I know there's one in Philly that does this, like amalgam, I think it's called, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's also folks who do like tabletop gaming coffee
Right.
shops as well,
Right.
which
Which
I
makes a
think is
lot of sense.
really rad. Just like have a cup of coffee and play some board games. Like
Yeah.
I need Baltimore to step up
Right,
in that
where's
regard.
ours?
Where's ours?
Yeah,
So
I love that. I think that's a great concept. And I've heard a lot of people like float that idea before. And I'm
Yeah.
like, not an original idea, but we probably could use more.
There's
Yeah.
a place that does comics and bubble tea.
Oh, that's actually cool. All right. Actually, I haven't had bubble tea in a while. So Carrie,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Overstreet before we get out of here.
yeah, absolutely. So this year is the 50th anniversary of the original Overstreet comic book price guide. So we've got Overstreet number 50 coming out this July at San Diego Comic-Con. But before that, and in previews available to pre-order right now, is
Yeah.
the Overstreet number 1 Facsimile edition, which is a reprint of the original Overstreet comic book price guide, all of the original prices, all of the original ads, which I love. I love old advertisements.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
know
cool.
if that's weird. Like I love looking at old print ads. I love looking at like old commercials.
Yeah.
I feel like a bit of a weirdo when I say that,
No,
but
you're
it's
not
fine.
alone.
So if you're a collector, if you're into comic book history and you want to know like what was this key comic in my collection worth 50 years ago, definitely pick that up. So we've got softcover, hardcover, and a limited signed hardcover edition that is selling very quickly in pre-orders. So definitely make sure that you get to your local comic shop and pre-order that as well.
And of course, we'll talk more about Overstreet 50 in the next couple of
Oh, yeah.
next couple of weeks, next couple of months, actually.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye on that. Go to your local comic shop, of course. And that's it for this week's show.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you very much for coming out here, Carrie.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna have you back on actually sooner than later, I think. 'Cause-
Excellent.
Especially for the Overstreet anniversary.
Yes.
But hey guys, thanks again. Be sure to create comics culture. I am Troy Jeffrey Allen,
I'm Ashton Greenwood.
And I'm Carrie Wood.
and we'll see you guys at the Spinner Rack.
Hey.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.